Good morning and welcome to the Alabama Way. This morning we want to kind of talk about a somewhat controversial topic, but we also want to offer some help for you. We're talking about divorce and how can we just stay together. Al Green said it best. We have, got the shocking news that our governor is even getting a divorce after 50 years.
Right.
So joining us today to help us sort this all out is sex and relationship therapist, Dr. Misty Smith. So good morning, Dr. Misty.
Thank you for having me, Joy.
It is truly my pleasure. So when we hear about couples getting divorced, we have our entertainers. Remember
Right.
Kim Kardashian, her first and second one, it was 72 days. Hey, after I've been married, now I understand. But when we make those vows, we say to death do us part.
Right, we do.
And
Except
initially it sounds so good. And we're not planning on leaving our spouses.
No. I just celebrated my 12th anniversary this weekend.
Yes.
And 12 years, it takes a lot of work, Joy.
Yes,
So,
yes.
So we're going to, I just want to talk about a little bit about what makes a relationship last, if that's okay.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Give us some tips so we can just stay together and work it out.
So the first one is communication, because we have to have communication within every relationship to make it work. Friendships, marriage, it doesn't matter. So communication is key. But what does that mean?
Exactly, because we hear that so much as the number one thing for relationships.
Right, and it truly is the number one thing for relationships. It's the thing that keeps every aspect of our lives going. So communication, keep in mind that you need to talk about things other than your children and who's doing the laundry. So make sure that you talk about your dreams and your goals. Make sure that you continue to feel like you're partners and not just associates trying to handle a business transaction within this marriage.
So how can you do that if maybe one of the partners are not sold on the dream, or you may say, you're just talking?
Well, when we get together, the reason we get together, the reason we walk down that aisle and say I do is because we think we have the same dreams and we have the same goals. So if you talk about those regularly, you stay in line with those more so than if you just discuss them when you first meet and then you don't discuss them again until you're getting a divorce. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you talk about what you want to do for retirement, where you want to go for vacation in 2 years or 5 years, how you're saving for the kids' college, where you plan on them going to college. So there are a lot of things that you can talk about that people they kind of put on a back burner.
Right.
And it doesn't get addressed. And making sure that you communicate every day, even if it's just to talk about what your partner had for lunch that day, how did you enjoy it? What was the best thing about your day? Instead of just the moan and the groan of the regular everyday events.
Right, because it may be difficult for some men to open up, because most women, we're very expressive and we want to talk about our lunch and when we ate it, when we did it. Most men was like, I had lunch, I'm full, okay?
Women do like to give details more so than men.
Right.
And sometimes it's our job to kind of pull those details out of them. So men, open up. Give your women a little of that information, a little more, and those conversations last a little longer and they'll go a little deeper. Another thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is expressing our love every day. So knowing your partner's love language is one of the things that I really encourage people to get to know. So there are 5 love languages, and it's words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts, and quality time. Okay. So know which one your partner is. There are tests online you can take to know those. And then make an effort to do something to try to meet that love language every day. So if your partner needs to hear how amazing they are, or how you're so excited that they go to work for you and provide for your family every day, make sure that you're saying that. Wow. Make sure that you're touching them, that you're kissing them, that you're holding them if they need physical touch. Those things are so important, and we forget because we just get busy with work. We talk about how busy we are.
Exactly.
So
that means that we have to basically love on purpose.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
Achieve that, because by the time you come home from work, or by the time you get through with traffic,
right,
you check your email. Unfortunately, we like our social media. It's like it's time to go back and do it all over again.
Right. So that's another tip, is to disconnect. Joy, everybody wants to stay connected, whether it's a phone call or social media or checking our email. Sometimes I feel like I'm never off of work.
Yes.
Because I'm always checking those things, and sometimes I have to remind myself, put down the phone, the computer, the tablet, the Kindle, the whatever it is that we are working on, and actually love on purpose. So I think that's a great way to put it.
So should the spouses say, hey, at 9 o'clock, this is our time?
I do. I think that every night you should make sure, if you have kids, you put them to bed at a decent time. You make sure that you have at least an hour, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, something in that range to spend with your partner, just trying to meet that love language need, getting to know them, remembering why you got married to them, and having that intimate time together. And then one of the weird things that I'm going to say is that people should talk about their finances.
Yes, that's not weird. That is huge.
So people say finances are the number one reason for divorce, and they are a touchy subject.
Yes.
It's a touchy subject, though, because nobody likes to talk about it. Those couples who spend time, one person is financially savvy and saving. The other person doesn't know how to balance a checkbook and spends whatever they want to. So if you're not on the same page, it can cause a lot of discord within a relationship.
So how can you talk about it and have peace? Because one person, may think that, okay, you're being overly cheap. Because one of my favorite shows is The Biggest Cheapskates. I love that show. I take some tips from them every now and then. But my husband and my family call me super cheap. But I'm thinking, well, it's because I want to have money, and I think you spend too much. So how can we have the happy balance?
Okay, so a happy balance is getting together maybe monthly and sitting down, planning out a budget, looking at how much you make, how much you spend, where do you want your savings to go? Are you planning for your kids' college fund? Are you planning for your retirement? How much money do I get to go and spend every month without being asked questions? So if you sit down and you talk about this, and this doesn't come as a big surprise when your partner funds the credit card bill, then there's a lot less fighting that occurs. So just be open about it. Make sure that you're on the same page.
Because I know a lot of my friends, they like to go and get those shoes and hide them.
Yeah.
So the spouse don't see it.
You sneak it into the closet, and then when they ask, it's suddenly just...
They're old.
It's always been there.
Exactly.
So I don't know what you're talking about. Exactly. So make sure that you are talking about the finances before it becomes a fight. And then there's another tip that I want to put out there, and that is avoid the you. You. It's such a blaming word.
Right.
So we want to focus on the I, the we, and the us. So when we have an argument, putting it in terms of we both were tired last night, and we did not handle that situation well. Or if you want to own everything and take full responsibility, use the I word. But never put it on your partner, because as soon as you say you, they become extremely defensive.
Exactly.
And it just puts you in yet one more negative situation.
So what about the other word is every time? That's one of the words that it just gets under my skin. Why? And you always. Why do you always do that? Every time you do this. I think it's the whole general word. Because I'm like, I don't always do it. Sometimes, but I don't always.
Right. We call those loaded terms. So you always, you never. Those are terrible words. There's this great book out there by Matthew McKay, and it is called Couple Skills. And it is fabulous for teaching couples how to communicate and how to leave those words out. So I recommend that book to all of my couples. Another thing is, putting labels on your partner, such as you're a feminist, or you're a sexist, or you're a jerk. Any negative terms that you just kind of place on them, it makes them feel that you don't respect them. And we can all be a jerk sometimes, but when you put that term on your partner, it really creates animosity within a relationship.
I agree.
So,
Dr. Misty, these are some great tips. If our viewers want to get more information and some more great advice from you, how can they contact you?
They can contact me at 205-529-2731. Look me up at convenienttherapy.com, or check me out on Twitter at Dr. Misty Smith.
Awesome. That was some great tips, and I'm going to go home and tell my husband everything you said. I'm going to say, see. so much. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
And we're back here on the Alabama Way. Now, we know that Alabama is known as the Bible Belt, and unfortunately, sometimes we just don't stay together. You know, we even have our own high elite, the governor, who is unfortunately not making it. And so we want to talk to an attorney to find out what can happen with the divorce. What not only will cause people to get a divorce, but let's look at the legal ramifications of not staying together, as Al Green was saying. Joining me this morning is Attorney AJ Sperling with Sperling and Associates. Good morning, Attorney Sperling.
Good morning, Joy, and thank you for having me here. I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. So let's talk about what should couples consider before they get divorced, because I think it's not something you should take lightly, and there's a lot that goes into it.
It is. One of the things that we do at Sperling and More is we initially inquire whether or not the couple have had any type of marital counseling. Because we don't want you to get in the middle of the divorce proceeding and say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to obtain some counseling from the minister, the pastor, or professional, and the divorce is off. We prefer that you do that prior to seeking legal advice.
So if they've done that and they say, listen, I made up my mind, I am out of here, I've had all I can take, then what are some things that they should consider?
Well, one of the first things we ask them to do is to actually be honest. Don't come to us and say, oh, I want to divorce my spouse because he or she committed adultery, and you're constantly having an affair at the same time. So honesty is very important, because once you're honest with us, then we can take the facts and lay it against the law and determine how to best serve you as a client. One of the other things is we don't want you disposing of any assets. You know, don't go and remove money from bank accounts. Don't start selling property that's marital property, because we don't want that to come back later on and be a consequence or be a negative when we end up in a court proceedings.
So basically, don't move money and put it in somebody else's name. And, you know, I think I just want to sell that boat today.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't sell that artwork that grandmother gave you that you think is so totally yours. So those are some of the things. We also want to be concerned that you do not interfere with the relationship between the children and the parent. Now, if there's no domestic violence going on between the family members and the parent has not committed any type of violent crime towards the child, we don't want you to interfere with that parent-child relationship. We want you to allow that to continue. Now remember, you're divorcing your spouse, you're not divorcing your children. So you want that relationship to stay intact.
So basically, don't say your mother is not good or your dad is blah, blah, blah.
No,
nurture that relationship.
Yes, no negative comment about the other parent. It's not healthy for the children. It's not good for your divorce proceedings either.
So when you talk about assets, you know, is it you get more based off the length of time you've been married, or because you want more, or because you're a female and we think, hey, the man is supposed to be the provider, so I want to get more? How does that work?
That's neither one of those assumptions is correct, especially in the state of Alabama. We're not a state that split assets equally. We are what we call an equitable state, and that depends upon the assets that the parties have together. Were there marital assets gained while they're married, or were some of these assets belong to one or the other person prior to marriage? All that takes into consideration. The length of the marriage matters as well as the number of children in the family. So all of the courts takes all of that into consideration when splitting the assets of the parties.
So the longer you've been married, the more difficult it is to have that 50-50 split?
There's no 50-50 split in Alabama. There's no assumption that there is a 50-50 split. It all depends on what did you bring to the marriage, what did you contribute to the marriage, and how long you've been married, and also whether or not the divorce, you are the party at fault in the divorce.
Interesting stuff. So let's talk about, because you talked about someone having what you brought into the marriage or whatever. Let's talk about prenups, because that's one thing that we're all familiar with, especially with a lot of Hollywood stars. So can you have a prenup, and if you decide to get divorced, do you just say, hey, in our agreement, you said you was going to take this, bye-bye, and I'll see you later? How does that work?
Yes. If it's a properly executed prenup, that prenup does carry a tremendous amount of weight in that divorce proceedings. Now, no one gets married that I know of with the intent of divorcing. And a prenup is like plan B, just in case. And it's usually used a lot with people who have what we call blended families. You have children from one spouse and you're marrying, that spouse has children. So you want to protect the asset you had coming into the marriage. Or it may be a family-owned business, and you want to protect that family-owned business so it's not part of any future divorce proceedings. Or you want to protect some type of inheritance that you've had or you've gained from some ancestor. Those are the reasons for a prenup for the average citizen. Then you have those who are, as you said, the Hollywood movie stars and stuff, and they want to protect their business entity or their name, the Beyoncés, the Princes. They want to protect their name, so in the prenup, they would definitely speak to those issues. And you have to be careful with a prenup. You cannot give your prospective spouse a prenup the day before and expect them to sign it and it to be legally binding.
So how much time does one have to sign it?
You need to give that party, that person, that prenup in sufficient enough time so that they can secure their own legal counsel, they can get their own legal advice so that you won't come back, so that they can't come back and say that they didn't have sufficient time to review it. Because you're waiving a lot of rights that you normally would have as a spouse. You can waive rights to inheritance, you can waive rights to property, real property, personal property, money, business interests, alimony. So it's important that you have some type of good legal counsel before you sign a prenup.
Okay. Now let me ask this: is it better to legally separate than to go through with an entire divorce?
One is just as costly as the other, as far as legal fees and court costs. You'll pay the same for a filing fee in Alabama for a legal separation as you would for divorce proceedings. Most people who opt for a legal separation are doing it for one or two purposes. Either for religious reasons, their religion does not allow for divorce, or they're doing it because they have been separated for such a significant amount of time that they do not want to continually be responsible for the financial debt that spouse may be making or incurring as marital debt.
Interesting. So it's almost like the song "Cheaper to Keep Her."
Sometimes.
Now let me ask this final question. Now, in the state of Alabama, what does the law say about common law?
In Alabama, you can be considered common law spouses if you do certain things. Now, just living together does not equate to common law marriage. You not only need to live together, you must have resources together, you must hold yourself out as a couple, things such as filing taxes together, becoming part of that person's 401k, IRA, all of those contribute to the fact that you are common law spouses. Just living together in an apartment or a house in and of itself is not truly common law marriage.
Okay, well, I think some people may have been set free this morning. Now, one final question. Now, is there a such thing as a postnup? Because you may get married, and then all of a sudden you may come into some money, and maybe for some reason you don't want to share those assets. Can you go back and say, well, let's have this agreement? I mean, I love you, honey, but, I have this over here.
Yes, there is postnups agreements, and they can be legal and they can be binding. Just be sure that if you're the presenter, you give that other person a significant amount of time to seek legal counsel, because you want it to be a legal binding agreement. And usually individuals who are artists, say a publisher, a writer, decides to write a book and they've been working on it prior to the marriage, and all of a sudden the book is published after the marriage, then they may want to secure all those resources for him or herself rather than sharing it with that spouse.
Interesting. So some of our viewers have some additional questions about divorce because this is kind of tricky. How can they contact you?
They can contact us on the web, sperlingandmore.com. They can. We have a site there where they can go ahead and pose questions, and we'll respond. Or they can reach us by telephone, 205-798-8900.
Awesome. That's some great information. Attorney Sperling, I thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully you have learned some of what the law has to say about divorce. I've learned a couple things. I'm taking some notes. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
And welcome back to the Alabama Way. I'm excited because one of my all-time favorite universities, Samford University, just had the dedication to a new building. And joining me this morning is my good friend, Miss Kara Kennedy at Samford University. Good morning, Kara.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. How about yourself?
I'm good.
Good. So we just had that ribbon cutting for the new business school at Birmingham
Right.
University. Yeah, so
Right,
tell us
right.
all about it. It's been in the works for a minute.
Right. We've been working on this for the last 2 years. The Samford Brock School of Business new building on Samford's campus was dedicated Friday the 4th of September. And we announced a couple of years ago, but now it's a reality, and it's just an outstanding building, very beautiful. You need to come out and tour it. I need to give you a personal tour of the building.
That is correct.
So
let's talk about the new facility. What does this new facility what is it able to offer business students that maybe you all were not able to in the past?
Well, it is a state-of-the-art facility. We, have upgraded classrooms with high-end technology. We have a new portfolio management room where we actually invest $1.7 million of the university's money in this portfolio room, so students learn how to invest. We've got a community resource room on the 4th floor of this building where people are able to have community events or breakfasts or seminars or things along that line. So it's just so pretty. I do want you to come out and see it.
And so when you say people can use a community room, you mean just lay people in the community can
Well,
rent the facility, or
they
you have to be
can
a student?
No, they can rent the facility. There is a person who's in charge of renting that particular facility, so I will have to get you the information on that, but we do have someone in charge of renting the community resource room. Actually, on the 4th floor as well, we've got 2 state-of-the-art computer labs where students can go in and learn different types of things with different software, both Mac and Windows access. So it's just, it's probably one of the most interesting new twists that we've got on Samford's campus.
So with the School of Business, what are some of the majors that students graduate with? What do they do with their business degree? Because we know that this is the new thing. A lot of people want to become entrepreneurs. So what kind of graduates are you all seeing?
We've got entrepreneurship graduates, we've got finance graduates, we've got accounting graduates, we have an MBA program, which is a flexible MBA program, which is online, or people can take the classes in person, actually on campus. We have marketing and management degrees. We have social entrepreneurship. So if you've got an interest in giving back to the community with your mission of your corporation or company, you can learn how to do that through our social entrepreneurship program, which also touches on nonprofit management as well.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. So with this new facility, you'll have new programs, or it's an add-on to already your business?
No, there are no really new programs except for our sales concentration that we offered this fall, starting at the school year. So the majors and the things we've been offering in the past, we're just moved over to a new facility, named for Mr. Brock, Harry B. Brock Jr. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was the founder of Central Bank, which is now Compass Bank, many, many years ago. So he named the building in 2007.
And so how did that come about?
Well, Mr. Brock was very involved in Samford University. He was a Board of Trustee member, and he just felt like giving back to the community and to help with his vision of teaching students entrepreneurship. That was one of his things he wanted to do, was to make sure that students were learning how to run a business in the business school. So he named the school in 2007, and he actually was not a Samford grad, and that shows you his dedication to the students in the campus of Samford University, which his legacy now lives on. Excuse me, can you edit that, I hope? Now lives on in the Brock School of Business.
Well, awesome. And earlier you mentioned that there's a computer lab in there. And I know back before, computers were affordable, that's where you had to go in class just to, do your papers, or you were still trying to learn. So do you all have tutors in the lab, or is it just special programs where you can use
the professors actually teach in the computer labs. They use these computers to teach students different things. Social media and marketing is one of the things that is learned. People learn the basic skills of Microsoft Excel and things, doing a business plan, doing a budget, all the things you need to grow or build a business or work in a business.
Okay. And so I think, if I'm not mistaken, once I took an after-hour course at Samford. It was for Spanish, so I'm a little bit bilingual. So will some of those type classes be housed in that building as well?
Not currently.
Okay.
This is strictly the Brock School of Business classes, undergrad and graduate school classes offered in that particular building.
Good.
And on the 4th, incidentally, we named the hall, because every building on Samford's campus has a name, and the hall was named Cooney Hall after Gary Cooney, who actually gave the lead gift for the building of the building.
Oh, well, that is awesome. So we have some great Samford supporters out there.
Oh yes, very much so. We are very grateful to all the donors and supporters and the businesses who continually support us, not only on campus, but we offer a number of networking events across the city, and we always have an amazement of how many people support us and come out and support us when we do these types of things.
And if people want more information on some of those events, where can they find that out?
Samford.edu/business, or they can go to samford.edu and look at the calendar on Samford's actual website.
Okay, so can we expect any more new buildings? Because I know the last time I was there, there's a lot of construction going on there.
Well, actually right now they're building the art lofts there for some of the visual artists, and that's supposedly coming online later this year. So you never know. We are expanding, and we also bought the property next door, former Southern Living property, which is where our College of Public Health is going to be housed over there. So, we're expanding. We had record enrollment this year. So, Samford is, one of the places in Birmingham for a great education.
Awesome. That is great. Well, Kara, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm going to actually come over there and get the tour.
I'll give you a personal tour.
That's right. A personal tour of the new Brock building.
New building, yes.
Exactly. So you all stay with us, and we will be right back.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
And we're back. I know a lot of you are looking forward to Halloween, but guess what? The day after Halloween, it is the Diabetes Walk. That almost sounds like an oxymoron. But joining me today is my guest, Miss Alicia Pruitt. She's with the American Diabetes Foundation. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for joining us, because the Diabetes Walk is right around the corner.
Yes, it is. It's coming up fast. So it's November the 1st, day after Halloween. So after you go out, eat candy, you can come walk it off at the walk to prevent diabetes. And the walk is going to be on November 1st, 2:30 p.m. at the UAB Campus Green, downtown in the middle of the South Side. And registration starts at 1 o'clock p.m. And this year we're trying to make it a lot more family oriented. Before, we've had a few things like a kids zone and things like that, but this year we're really trying to amp up the entertainment beforehand and the pre-warm-up, so it'll be a good time.
So have we seen any trends in number of people getting diabetes? Because we always hear, we got to watch what we eat and all those kind of risk factors that put us at risk for diabetes.
Yes, actually, especially in the state of Alabama, in Jefferson County especially, Alabama is actually the fourth highest state of new incidents of diabetes. And that was done in 2012 is the most recent data that we have. But fourth highest state, and then also there's been an increase in 7% of people with pre-diabetes. So 7% of our state actually has pre-diabetes, and when you have pre-diabetes, it's good to know that you're at risk, because at that point in time you can try to make lifestyle changes to prevent having a full onset of diabetes. Such things as walking just a few times a week, changing the quantity of food that you eat, and kind of modifying the amount of sugar. You don't have to cut out sugar completely, or you don't have to cut out starches completely, which is, a myth that a lot of people believe. But it's just making simple changes. And me personally, I have numerous friends whose parents were on medication. They didn't necessarily have to take insulin yet, but they were on medication. And just by walking 3 or 4 times a week and cutting back portion sizes when they eat, they actually were able to cut out all of their medications. They're still diabetic because their uptake of insulin is still not where it should be, but as far as treating it, they don't have to take 3 or 4 different pills a day. So that is a few myths about diabetes that people don't really understand. And also a risk test. We do have on diabetes.org, you can go and you can take a diabetes risk test, because a lot of things go into people getting diabetes besides lifestyle changes. It also can be genetic. And so if you take the risk test, you can look at different factors such as your age, how active you are, and things like that. And they just give you a way to look out, things to look out for to make sure that you don't become diabetic.
So what are some symptoms of becoming a diabetic? Because some people may be experiencing some of those things and may not realize that that's truly what it is.
Okay, one thing that is most common that a lot of people notice is frequent urination. So if you notice yourself going to the restroom just constantly, more than normal, not, if you drink a lot of water or anything, that kind of going. But if it's just really abnormal if you go normally 2-3 times a day and you're going 6-7 times a day, that should be kind of a indicator. Also, something else people may not know is that your vision. So when you go to the eye doctor, if you go and they can do screenings with your eyes and can tell you if you are at risk for having diabetes, and they can tell that. That's how my dad actually found out he had diabetes, was he went in to get his eyes checked, and then they're like, oh, hold on.
So it's just that your vision is not as clear as it used to be, or it's blurry? Because you also have the other thing of that the older you get, the first thing goes is your vision.
Yeah, it's not necessarily your vision being blurry, but it's actual scans that they do. So exactly how all that works, I'm not exactly sure on that. But when he did one of the screenings at the optometrist, and that's how he found out he had diabetes. And he ended up going to his primary care doctor, and from there it's been, I think, about 10 years almost since he's been diagnosed. And so it's something that touches home really for me, and especially, again, like I said, in Alabama, our state, the prevalence is just extremely high. Us, Mississippi, West Virginia are the highest in the country for new incidents.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of times we associate diabetes with obesity. Are there some people that are within their normal age ranges or more petite sizes that also may have diabetes?
Yes, that's another myth that comes up. Actually, majority of the people who are obese are not diabetic. And most people that are diabetic are either normal weight range or moderately obese. And so that comes into play. A lot of times people don't get screened because they think, oh, I'm not obese, so I don't have to worry about diabetes. And there are some people who are 125 pounds. There's this lady, she does CrossFit right here in Birmingham, and she's diabetic.
Wow.
And so, you can be very active, and then just because of genetics, you're more predispositioned to have diabetes. And also, besides type 2, a lot of people only think about type 2, but you also have
And is
type 1.
2 the one with the insulin and the shots? Or walk us through those different stages.
All right, so you have type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is, most people are born with that. That's when your body does not produce insulin at all. And so you have to do insulin shots in order to have insulin. And you'll see some people with insulin pumps because their body just doesn't produce it. Then you have type 2 diabetes, which usually the onset is there's a genetic predisposition for it, and then lifestyle change issues. So it can be that you're obese, or it can be that you're very sedentary, and it can bring on the onset of diabetes. And then there's also gestational diabetes. So sometimes you'll hear people, they have these huge babies, 10, 11-pound babies, and people are like, oh my gosh, did you have diabetes while you were pregnant? So gestational diabetes is actually more frequent than you would think. And again, your size, you can be a larger person. You can be a really small, petite person, never have any health problems, and you end up developing diabetes during your pregnancy, and then you have it continuously after you had your child. So those are the 3 different types of diabetes. And so the purpose of the ADA, the American Diabetes Association, is to make people aware that throughout different stages of your life, from the time you're born all the way through geriatric age, you can have onset of diabetes. Wow. And so especially children now. One of the more studies that came out, 1 out of 3 children born after the year of 2000 are going to be affected by diabetes. Wow. At the current rate we're going right now in the United States. So that's an alarming number. You think of just, I'm pretty sure you have friends or nieces, nephews who are having kids. Like every day it seems like somebody's pregnant, and just think 1 out of 3 of those kids are at risk for developing diabetes in their lifetime. So
with the gestational diabetes, that just kind of happens when the mother's pregnant. Is there anything she can do to prevent that?
Not it getting tested, of course. So the earlier you find out, the better. That's one of the normal tests that they do when women go to the doctor. So getting your prenatal screenings and all of that is extremely, extremely, extremely important, because when you do that, the doctor can see, okay, your blood sugar levels, there's been a spike in that. And so they'll do a test. It's not a very pleasant test because you have to drink, it's pretty much like straight sugar, orange straight sugar, and you have to chug that down. And so they can test you to see how your body's reacting to that. So it's not very fun to take, but really that's, as far as I know, that's one of the only ways, is just to be tested while you're pregnant. And then they'll, give you some instructions on maybe changing what you eat or even exercising while you're pregnant.
Excellent. Now you got the big hand there.
Yes.
So tell us about the big hand.
So this hand is what we're going to use for our One Drop campaign. And a lot of everybody's seeing all these different things like the bucket challenge, the ice water challenge, and things like that. And social media is a great way to get people involved, friends, family, coworkers involved in different activities. So we've decided to do the One Drop campaign. You can go on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, whatever you have, and do hashtag One Drop, and also at ADA_Alabama to show us that you're taking a picture with a hand. So you may see us out at restaurants, or you may see it at church, or you may see it at work. And we just ask that you stop, take a picture with it, and use those hashtags so that we can get awareness built up for diabetes. Because again, there's a lot of misconceptions about diabetes. And so our job is to let people know that there are people that care. There are people that are fighting for you. So hopefully the One Drop campaign will be a big start for raising awareness that we're just now starting in Alabama. I'm not aware of any other state that's actually doing this campaign, so maybe we can start the trend for that. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Pruitt, and we look forward to seeing you November 1st November 1st at the Diabetes Walk. So I want to thank you for joining us
thank you
today.
very much.
It's my pleasure, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
Now, if you're looking for a little bit of exercise here in the Magic City, we got a new program that is just launched, and I am so excited to have my good friend Michael Sims with Zype Bike Share to join us to tell us about it. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you very much for having me.
It is truly my pleasure. So we're seeing some new green bikes throughout the city with Zype Bike Share. So tell us all about that.
Yes, you are. I know they're very easy to spot. We like to be very vibrant and noticeable in the city. But so we just recently launched our Zype Bike Share system. It was last September 24th. We rolled out around 150 bikes in around 15 to 20 stations. And then we're slowly rolling out more week by week. So we're going to expand our footprint every week, and we will eventually end up with 400 bikes and 40 docking stations around the city. We're going to be all the way from Avondale in the east, all the way to Titusville in the west. We will be, BJCC Uptown in the north, all around the city center, downtown business districts, and we're actually going to go up to 5 Points and Highland Park, Forest Park, Glen Iris area. So. And all over UAB as well. So we're kind of hitting as many high points of Birmingham as possible and impacting the way we transportate around the city. Transportate, yes. I'm making things up as we go.
Well, let me ask you this. So how does this work? So you just go and you check out a bike. You can keep it for 2 days. You can ride for as long as you want. How does the program actually work?
Okay, so the system is a bike share program. So we are certainly emphasizing the sharing aspect. And if everyone uses it correctly, there's always going to be bikes available. There'll always be something there for you to use. The membership goes as, you can do a yearly membership, that's $75, or you can do two other options. We call our weekly membership or a conference, and a casual membership, and that's a day membership or 7 days. And you can actually get those directly at the kiosk just by swiping a credit card. It'll dispense a plastic card that you'll keep for the duration of your membership, place it on top of the bike, and you'll check you out. The annual membership, you'll actually have a key fob that comes, and you can just place that on top of the bike as well. You'll check one out. How it goes is 45 minutes per ride is included in every membership. So before you go past 45 minutes, there's going to be a timer on every bike, so you're never going to go over if you don't want to. But so once you go past 45 minutes, you will start accruing small overtime charges. It's $2 for the first 30 minutes, $4 for every additional 30 minutes past that. Now, the catch to that is if you go and you're riding for 42 minutes, you see you're getting close, but you still want to ride around a little bit longer, go to the nearest docking station, put your bike in, immediately check out another bike, and your 45 minutes starts over. So you could theoretically have a bike for hours at a time without any of these additional overtime charges. But if you find yourself kind of cruising around, you don't feel like stopping, the $2, it's not enough to necessarily deter you from wanting to put it in a station if you're really having a good time, but it's enough just to keep someone from checking one out first thing in the morning and maybe tying it to a tree or not using it and keeping it out of the system for too long. We want to emphasize the sharing aspect so everyone has a bike available for them.
So this is similar to a car rental, that you get to keep it for a certain period of time and only have, we won't say a certain distance, but you only get to ride for a certain period of time.
Right, and they're meant for one-way trips. They're meant to go from, you're going to 5 Points, you feel like you work downtown, you want to expand your lunch options, you want to go maybe ride up to 5 Points for a second, go grab some lunch. It's meant for you to take the bike out outside your work. You will ride it to your lunch spot, check it into a bike there. You can rent them from any station and return them to any station. So again, one-way trips, that's kind of to keep it under 45 minutes. It's really easy. You'll put it in a docking station, do whatever you want to do, go grab some lunch, grab a cup of coffee, drop off some mail, anything downtown. And then when you go pick up another bike, again, your 45 minutes starts over. So it's meant, just to make transportation easy around the city, keep you from having to drive, parking, headaches, or
Are those nice parking fees?
Or any parking fees,
because it costs a lot more to park now.
Correct, and honestly, this is not just a sales pitch, but it's the cheapest form of transportation around town. A $75 annual membership, you have unlimited rides for an entire year. And like I said, you can actually go the entire year without adding any extra overtime charges if you keep all your rides under 45 minutes at a time.
So even with the annual membership, you still have to do 45-minute increments?
Correct, yes. The only thing we had a difference, we actually had a founders campaign. It was what we call our shifters that we started early on, and it was our early adopters. It was the individuals who kind of were very, very excited about the program. They, kind of had just a emotion in them that wanted to join the program early. They got a 2-year membership, and they actually have an hour ride time. So that was kind of our big founders campaign. But other than that, every other membership, the annual, the daily, or the casual, or the weekly, it's all 45 minutes. So no one gets any extra for which membership they choose. It's just that's the rules of the game, if you will.
So let me ask this. So when you get the bike, are you just renting the bike itself, or do you get the helmet and knee pads and the other safety mechanisms come along with cycling?
You're renting the bike, that is it. But we do certainly encourage as many safety precautions as possible. Helmets are something that we just are trying to push. It's tough to have them out there and included in a rental. I know there are a couple other cities that have tried to implement that. It's very tough to keep them maintained, but if you go to our website, we were going to be rolling out maps and ways to definitely keep safety, helmets cheap or accessible to everyone. We just want everyone to use those. Knee pads, everything that comes with it. Hopefully if you find yourself using it, daily or weekly, those are things you'll start investing in because you'll actually start using them.
Right. So are there any particular safety guidelines that may pop up? Because I know when I plug in my GPS, it always say, before it give me directions, hey, you will not operate this car, still drive, and punch in information. So is there some type of safety information people will have to read prior to them checking out the bike?
Yes, so in every kiosk there will be a safety tips box you can choose. We encourage everyone to read through those, especially if you're a beginner or someone who maybe is just getting back into cycling or riding a bike. These things are very sturdy. They're meant to be on the road. They're meant to use the rules of the road and to abide by all those laws. So we want you to feel comfortable on them, know the safety, the rules of the road, use everything like that. But you can go to our website, zipbikeshare.com. There's also tips on there. We have a really good video that we put on. And also things like once you check out a bike, we want you to test out the brakes, test out the tires, make sure that your seat is adjusted correctly. These are all customizable features for the bike that you can use as soon as you check them out. So we want you to feel comfortable before you start riding. And then, eventually getting the hang of it, it'll kind of come back. It's as easy as riding a bike. It kind of comes back to you, trust me.
Now, you also have an app.
Yes.
So tell us, how does the app work? Because as people say, we got an app for that.
We got an app for that, and it's one of the coolest features that we have about this. So on our app, you can actually check out a bike on the app. You can just go through, you'll scroll through and be able to find out where bikes are at, how many bikes are in particular stations. We have a very cool feature I haven't even mentioned yet. It's called our Pedelec bike. We're the first city in North or South America to implement this type of technology.
And what is it called again?
It's called Pedelec. It's pedal assist, electric pedal assist.
Okay.
So we're only the 5th city in the world, too, that actually has this. And one of the cool reasons why we got our name, Zip, because what it does is it gives you a little extra boost throughout the city. You're going up a hill, it'll kick in, and you really don't even have to use as much energy, to be honest with you, to go up a hill or really exert much. It kind of catches it for you. So on our app, it'll tell you how many of these Pedelec bikes will be in our system. There's 100 out of the 400 out there. So, they may be kind of in certain areas. You'll just be able to find out where they're at. You'll have a user profile on our app, and that will give you the opportunity to see how many miles you've ridden, how many calories you've burned, how many different routes you've taken to get to the same point. So you can maybe start tracking the same places. That falls back into safety, where kind of the best routes to take. It may not be the shortest route, but it's the safest way. And your app will tell you kind of where to go on those. It'll also just give you all of our maps, all the information about the system. It's one of the cooler features that we're allowed to bring on to the system.
And so will it also give you routes, like the best route to go in different areas?
We're working on that feature right now. We once we figure out, really, all of our bikes have live GPS. And so we're able to track all the bikes at all times. That's a bunch of features kind of help us with that. We can track them. We can find out where people are riding, and we know where the safest routes are. Once we get this data collected, we can also track all the bikes for if there's any if you have a flat tire, if if something goes wrong, you need a repair, you can actually just call 1-844-ZIP bike. We'll be able to know where the bike is at all times, come straight out to you and find it on the spot. Also, if a bike starts wandering away somewhere, we can actually locate that bike and alert the proper authorities and figure out where that bike is, or if you've lost one, you don't remember for some reason, you chained it to a tree, you don't remember exactly which one.
To my cousin's house.
Yeah, well, you ran in to get some coffee. Maybe you walked around downtown, and because there's a secondary lock on every bike that allows you for intermediate stops without putting it back into the system. Maybe you've forgotten where you placed it. You can call us and we can tell you it's on the corner of so and so. But with this GPS, it'll give us routes, and eventually we'll be able to implement that into the app and figure out where you should be taking your bike and probably where you feel most comfortable taking it.
Excellent. So Michael, give us that website one more time that we can go and check out one of those bikes.
Okay, it is www.zipbikeshare.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at zipbikeshare-Birmingham or at ZYPBHM on Twitter and Instagram. Of course, social media, everyone's got to have it. And we can't wait to start hearing the feedback from everyone. Start tagging us on pictures with your Zip bike. Start, just tweeting to us and Instagram and Facebooking stuff. And we love to just get all the feedback we possibly can, because this is a system that is made for Birmingham residents by Birmingham residents. We've had a feasibility study for years, just trying to make sure we have the perfect system in place for Birmingham, which is kind of where the pedelec came from. So we're ready. We're just excited to hear how everyone is using the bikes, and tell us what it's for. You use it for lunch every day, or you use it with your friends on the weekends at Railroad Park. Just we'd love to hear any feedback that you have.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, and you see the information there on your screen. Tell us your experience. I want to hear about it. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
Coming up this week on Dining Out with Joy, we're going to Columbiana for my favorite spot, Birmingham, Maine.
It's time for Dining Out with Comedienne Joy.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Comedienne Joy, the Queen of Clean, with another edition of Dining Out with Joy. So where can you go in the small town of Columbiana to get high-end food with the low-end price, but the taste is huge? Nowhere else but my friends at Birmingham, Maine. At Birmingham, Maine, you can eat from the Daily Steam Bar with some of your hometown favorites.
I like a steak, but I love their buffet.
And for the lighter side at Birmingham, Maine,
This is my favorite salad. It's a grilled Caesar wedge. They grill the whole wedge of lettuce and then put the grilled chicken on it. It's really good.
I am stuffed. It was a very big salad. Lots of chicken, lots of lettuce. It's very good.
but for those like me who like to eat and keep it real, so what did you have today, sir?
Bacon cheeseburger.
How was it?
Great. I could hardly finish all of it.
And after listening to this customer, I too thought that maybe I should try Columbiana's famous, world popular, the Bernie Burger.
Bernie Burger, right here. Invented, created. Oh man, I can't do it. I got to say it for you, girl. Oh, by the way, you got to have this Bernie handmade bun. We make our bread at house.
Okay.
All right. Get ready. Baby Joy, you ready to watch? Girlfriend.
Do I know how to eat a Bernie Burger or what?
Napkin.
What is a napkin? Can I do like this?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
I know you want a bite of this Bernie Burger, don't you? He said it was a Joy Burger. How about a Joy Bernie Burger? Or maybe a Bernie Joy Burger?
The JB Burger.
This is delicious, guys. I know, I have to trade my burger in for some chicken, but this is absolutely amazing. So get you some today. I'll meet you down here. I don't live that far.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
And this morning in our talent showcase, we have a very funny guy. Check him out. He's impersonating someone you may know.
Everybody in America, the Bible says righteousness exalteth a nation. If everybody in America became Christians, not only did they become Christians, but they became, deacons, elders in the house of God. You know who the senior bishop would be? It would be Obama himself. You will be shocked. One day you come to church, behind the pulpit, you just, offering time, blessing time. Now, if you're here and you make more than $150,000 a year, we believe that you ought to be willing to pay a little more in tithes and offering. Thank you. Now, I also want to share with you my favorite verse of the Bible, Philippians 4:13. Yes, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, shall we pray? Close your eyes. Republicans back there, close your eyes. I'm watching you. Now, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your will be done on Capitol Hill, as it is in heaven. Now, give me this day my approval ratings. Forgive my unfulfilled promises, as we forgave Bush for his unfulfilled promises. Lead me not into the hands of Fox News, for you have delivered me from Romney. For thine is the kingdom, the power and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. God bless you.
Criminal Minds on Ion Television.
Positively entertaining.
It is always good when Comedienne Joy is here on the Alabama Way. And listen, once again, we want to hear from you. If you've got a comment or you've got a topic that you want us to hear or bring to you here on the Alabama Way, let us know about it. You can write to us here, 2085 Golden Crest Drive, Birmingham, Alabama, 35209. Once again, thank you for being here with us on the Alabama Way.
Thank you for watching the Alabama Way. The views expressed in this program were solely those of the guests and not of the station. For questions or comments, write to us at 2085 Golden Crest Drive, Birmingham, Alabama, 35209, or fax us at 205-870-0544.